You're watching College Sports Rush's Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
All right, Jimmy Ott with Charles Hanagriff. We are ready for the College World Series Field of 8. We've done this now 8 weeks. It's 7 of 8 profitable weeks, so good run for us. Charlie, very good. Calling Coastal Carolina game 1 and for the series. They have not lost a game in quite some time. And, hey, why don't we start when we're looking at the odds, and here are the odds to win the whole thing at Bet Rivers right now. And, you know, we talked about it last week with the 3 teams at the 3 odds-on favorites, Tennessee, Arkansas, and LSU. One's going to knock each other out, and the other 2 are going to play each other in the first game of the College World Series. There's probably some value somewhere else. Now, what do those 3 teams have in common? They're pretty heavily publicly bet for the, in college baseball, So it's, the last 2 national champions, the highest RPI left in Arkansas. We talk about RPI as well with Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is 5-0 in the postseason. 3-0 undefeated in the regional round at Conway at home, and then 2-0 at Auburn, where, Charlie, they played how many home series in the SEC did Auburn?
5.
How many did they win?
All of them.
and Coastal goes in there with some pretty good opponents in the SEC at that place, and they go in and take care of business. We talk about that Coastal. It had to catch your attention. The regional round, the Sunday game when they win a 1-0 game. Those games don't exist. They don't exist. So, man, let's look at their pitching. And you look at their pitching, and it's unbelievable. And it was on display again at Auburn. They win. They only give up 1 run in the clinching game on Saturday, and that was a 2-out RBI single that the runner scored from first base. I mean, he had to extend it. He was running with the pitch, of course, going with 2 outs, but still very little threats. And then my eyeballs tell me, man, listen, these guys, they got velo, they got movement, and when you look at the depth, are you kidding me? They have 10 pitchers who have an ERA of 3.03 or less. I mean, this is unbelievable. And that's a park, and that's a program that's built on hitting. I'm sorry. We put out the plus 1,500 last week on Oregon State. They're at plus 650 now, so that's a great value to that ticket. The Auburn plus 40 to 1 is done, and plus 400 to make it to the College World Series is done as well. And I'm not just reactionary here, but Coastal, and I got some teams with some pitching left, but Coastal probably has the most, and then makes it even. This is the transfer portal era. This is the player budget era, the NIL budget era. I mean, they're paying players. They paid the pitcher for the softball team at Texas Tech $1 million. Okay, I mean, Coastal doesn't have this type of budget. This is unheard of, but this is legit. I like Coastal at plus 650. You bet.
Yeah, we agree on that, Jimmy. On that side of the bracket, I looked at Oregon State. I like Coastal a little bit better. That RPI, we usually forget about the RPIs once the brackets come out, right? That's the main tool of the RPI, is to look at the brackets. Well, I just kind of gazed at them this morning, and, Coastal Carolina's 3. Well, yeah. This is, again, going to your strength of schedule. Who have you beaten? And going into Auburn was 5-1 against LSU and Vanderbilt at home. They were 28-6 overall at home, and Coastal goes in there. And by the way, not for nothing, holds their ace in game 1 for game 2. And we talked about, Sam Dutton seemed to have been fading a little bit at the end for Auburn, but I was surprised that Coastal didn't throw their 1. They saved him for Saturday when they were a favorite in the game at Auburn in game number 2. And let me say something about that park. You talked about Hitter's Park for Coastal Carolina. Absolutely. It's 325 down the lines and 390 to straightaway center field. That's not big dimensions. That's smaller than a lot of the SEC parks. So to put those numbers that you just quoted up against in that park is really something. The Sun Belt is the 7th best conference. We've seen the Sun Belt fluctuate between, say, 5 and 7 over the years, right outside of those power conferences. It's a very, very good brand of baseball. And this club, this program now, first-year coach, but he's been there forever, has made 15 out of 17 NCAA
Postseasons.
tournaments. They've won 4 super regionals or 4 regionals, and now this is the second super regional, and they won a national title 9 years ago. So this is a program that's used to winning, 23-game win streak. I like a lot about Coastal Carolina, and I take them a little bit over Oregon State here with equal odds.
26-4 in conference play this year, and then they went, and that is unbelievable. I mean, in the number 7 RPI league right now, the Sun Belt. So they just have arms and arms, and of course, there's no park that plays as big as Charles Schwab Field in Omaha, Nebraska. Conditions are kind of mid right now. There's no real extreme wind blowing in or out early on, as we can see. Now, listen, we're going to be on Friday as well and dive deeper into the individual games on Friday and Saturday. But, hey, the unders, I mean, if these totals come out, and I'm going to put this one up, if they come out early before our podcast on Friday, that is my favorite under. And Coastal in Arizona. So they're a 235 favorite right now in the game against Arizona. So it's not like the odds makers aren't valuing them at all. Is if they had this roster, these credentials, and they were Tennessee, I mean, it'd be plus 225, maybe right now. So plus 650. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself a little bit with that Oregon State ticket right now. That's okay. Let one of them win. That's fine. So I like Coastal Carolina plus the 650. Any other thoughts on that side of the bracket, Charlie?
No, but since you brought up the wind, I want to, people maybe not familiar with Charles Schwab Field or Benton College baseball, just don't do it very much. The wind is significant. A factor in almost every game that is played up there. And unlike Rosenblatt, where the wind blew out more often than it blows in, at Charles Schwab, it blows in more often than it blows out. But we've seen some extreme conditions, Jimmy. We were up there in 23 when LSU and Florida put 28 runs on the board, and we saw pop-ups flying out of the park. So the wind, again, though it is not as big of a factor as it was at Rosenblatt, is still very, very important if you're going to consider totals. You need to check those win totals when you get up on the morning of the game.
All right, and we'll have those. We'll be on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays throughout the end of the College World Series right here in the Bet Rivers Network. All right, let's look at the other side and another one that is surface, and that is the UCLA Bruins. UCLA at plus 900. They're a top 10 RPI right now as they played, and it's what they've done with ease. It's how easily they did it. Texas San Antonio has a hell of a team. They went in there and scored 1 run in the first, 1 run in the second, and that was it. 16 scoreless frames the rest of the way. UCLA has yet to give up a game in the NCAA tournament, so they are 5-0 coming in as well. It's their first trip in 12 years to Omaha for the College World Series, but this is a team that has just been just not winning, but winning with style. It's almost like they're playing in the old college football. They're trying to get some style points, I guess you could say. Minus 280 in their first game on Saturday afternoon against Murray State. And God bless Murray State, but let's face it, okay? This is a favorable draw, coming out of there. So UCLA now will be in the we'll probably advance to play on the winner of Arkansas and LSU, but at plus 900. I mean, Arkansas and LSU are so short. They play each other right out the bat. I'm looking for some value elsewhere. And as we said before, this tournament even was drawn up. I mean, there is so much more parity in college baseball. There's no unbeatable team. Every team has flaws coming in, and it is played out that way. On the baseball field. March Madness has flipped over to May and June Madness because it is played much more like the NCAA basketball tournament used to play. So I'm looking for a price, and I'm going with UCLA plus the 900.
Jimmy, if UCLA was on the other side of the bracket, I'd pick them over Coastal. I can't. I like the value with you. I can't, in good conscience, pick them over Arkansas and LSU on that side, although I do think that they will win Saturday's game. Murray State, the first time, we've seen what happens to first-time teams up there. That's a really, really rough assignment. But UCLA is top 20 in the country in runs scored. You just talked about some of the pitching numbers against what was a really, really strong offensive UTSA team. So when you combine those two things, and the third thing I really like about UCLA is that John Savage, the head coach, has won a national championship. He certainly knows about playing in his park, and I think his experience will be extremely valuable for them. Their strength of schedule, UCLA in the Big Ten, not an elite baseball conference. But would you be surprised to know that UCLA's overall strength of schedule is better than LSU's out of the Southeastern Conference? That certainly surprised me. So I don't. Yeah, they get the good draw in the first game, but trying to duke it out with Arkansas and LSU over the course of a week, I think is going to be tough. I do like the value, but I can't play them against those two heavyweights. But I like them in the first game, and if they were on the other side of the bracket, I'd pick them in the finals.
The loser of Arkansas LSU is it's subject to save their ace, maybe against a Murray State, who might be that elimination game. They could be playing with fire a little bit. And, you think UCLA is as good as Auburn?
I do.
How'd Auburn do against LSU, Charlie?
They swept them at Auburn.
I'm just trying to play like there's no unbeatable teams. As LSU's bats woken up, well, they got 25 free passes. That West Virginia's pitcher, look, their ace, they had to rush him back because the number 2 was sick. And so that was a disaster between walks and hit batsmen. 17 of those 25 free passes scored in 2 games. I mean, you can't even compete with that. And Arkansas away from home, they're a lot more human, huh?
Yeah, they're 34-4 at home. They're more of a little bit better than 500 club in the SEC on the road, right around 500 on the road. I'll tell you what I like about Arkansas, and I think the Arkansas and LSU teams are they're a coin flip. The matchup we're going to get Saturday, Cade Anderson against Zach Root. They matched up a month ago in Baton Rouge. That game ended up 5-4 LSU in 10 innings. And it couldn't have been more even. Root went 6 innings. Anderson went 5 2/3. Neither team ever led by more than 2 runs, and the 2-run lead lasted all a half an inning. They had to go extras to settle it. It was a straight coin flip game. But that was in Baton Rouge. So you say, well, you switch it to a neutral site. Maybe does that balance things up a little bit, tilt things for Arkansas a little bit. But what I like about Arkansas the most is Gage Wood. Gage Wood, potential first-round pick later this month. Started out the season, had an injury a couple of weeks in, missed 2 months. They brought him back about 10 weeks into the season, and they were really careful with him. They were working his pitch count up until in the postseason he's now capable 6-inning or maybe even more pitcher with a first-round talent. Jimmy, they didn't have him for the big bulk of the regular season. Yeah. So having him back to go behind Root, I think is a big plus for Arkansas. But Anderson, Ianson, Root, Wood, these 2 teams I think are the 2 best teams in the tournament, and I think they are absolutely a coin flip.
That's funny because I think it was when Wood returned from, say, the IL from injury, it was pretty much correlated with the Texas Ace going out. And I know that the Texas Ace, they went 1 conference series against A&M and swept them, all 1-run games in Austin. But their very next trip was to Fayetteville. And they were unanimous number 1 in all the polls, which is rare, and got not beat, but destroyed in Baum and in Fayetteville. Be a lot of fans from both teams as well on that first and the primetime game on Saturday night between Arkansas and LSU. I'm sorry, that's the price. I mean, come on, man. Ain't a horse alive worth 4 to 5. I mean, that's just kind of what I'm looking at right here with these big numbers, and we've been talking about it for quite some time. And anything else on the futures, Charlie? And we'll get again to the games on the individual games on Friday's cast.
Yeah, I don't think Oregon State's a terrible play either. You got to
even it's still at 650, huh?
Yeah, same as Coastal Carolina. I like Coastal a little bit better, but Oregon State, they played with fire in both the regional and the regional and the super regional. They lost the first game of the regional, so they had to battle back. You know what that's like? You got to win 4 games in 3 days to come out of the losers bracket when you lose the first or second game. Well, they did that, and then they got themselves in a bind on Friday night against Florida State. Not only were they down 4-1 going to the ninth inning, but Florida State had saved Jamie Arnold, a top 10 pick in this month's draft, likely, was going to go on Saturday for Florida State. So Oregon State had to rally in the ninth inning to win that game 5-4, and then they did lose to Arnold on Saturday, but won kind of a slugfest 14-10 on Sunday to get them out of the regional. So they have played with fire a little bit, but they've gotten themselves out of it every time. So they're a dangerous club, and I don't think they're a terrible play at plus 650 either.
Again, one more play as soon as that total comes out. Would definitely take the under with the first game on Friday afternoon, Coastal Carolina and Arizona. I'm hoping to get about 9.5, maybe even 10, which they just kind of boost them up because that's where college totals are usually in double digits. But I would take as low as 8.5 on the under in that one. They're loaded with pitching, and Arizona is a pitching defense heavy team as well. For Charles Hanagriff of Jimmy Out, of course, again, back on Friday for the individual games, the first 4 games on Friday and Saturday, and then every Monday, Wednesday, Friday through the entirety of the College World Series. For Charles Hanagriff, I'm Jimmy Out here on the Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.
Thanks for watching College Sports Rushes, Sports Bettor's Paradise on the Bet Rivers Network.